See, I absolutely get tired whenever people try to do a debate between Korra and Aang, base versus Avatar State. And it's hard to go base strictly off of the show because they always try to put Aang at a disadvantage, which he kind of isn't. Korra starts off the series at 17 years old and ended at 21. Aang stays 12 years old the entire series. Now, if we also apply 4 years to Aang's age from 12 to 16-year-old Aang, then this conversation wouldn't be close. Like, we wouldn't be talking about this right now. But the fact that there's always a comparison between Korra from age 17 to 21 against Aang, who remained 12, that kind of says something right there. I really think about how insane that is, that all 4 years of you training and fighting and going through your experience versus someone younger and has shorter time, and they have a versus against y'all on who will win, and everybody's like,
I don't know.
because they know if we use Aang from the comics, it's game over. We ain't talking about it no more. So Korra versus Aang, base versus Avatar State. Let's see how this plays out. So to start things off, we're going with base. And they're assuming that Korra beats Aang in all these categories. And to be honest, it looks like some of these categories were just made up to give Korra the advantage simply because she's older. Overall strength and base, I have to give it to Aang, not Korra. Aang's strength and base was underrated, especially when he became an earthbender. He would be flying fast as heck into a rock, face first, with a smile like, okay, boom, and get up and keep moving. Like, his overall strength was underrated, especially when he became an earthbender. Sure, it's impressive that Korra is able to lift a grown man in the air like Mako, but Aang literally punched through that bare fist. Next up would be attack potency, and for this one, I would simply say Korra because she lacked restraint, because she'd just be firing. Aang's attacks are more focused and precise and actually hit their target, but she just be launching large fireballs. So I would give that to Korra. I mean, she does throw nothing but pretty much haymakers. Durability, I'm sorry, but I'm going with Aang here because Aang used to get knocked around a lot. And his ability to wake up from pure unconsciousness to back ready in the fight again is absolutely next level durability. And speed, I'm glad they had common sense and they knew to give that to Aang. Reaction speed, sorry, that goes to Aang as well. Don't get me wrong, Korra do have fast reaction time, but there are two particular reaction feats that beat Korra out completely, that Aang done specifically. And here goes Exhibit 1 and 2. A second slower for either one of those, Aang's dead. Lifting strength is clearly a category that they kind of made up just to highlight Korra's lifting a grown man in the air. Technically in base, Aang lifted this rock up, but I want to give Korra this just so it can be somewhat fair. Striking strength, that goes to Aang. Like I said before, his striking strength gets overlooked a lot. Max, I have to give to Korra because she goes out every fight not holding back. For destructive capability, I have to also give that to Aang, because he has the capability to be 10 times more destructive than he actually is. Especially if he wasn't holding back in his fights and was trying to actively take out the person. See, this is where people get kind of confused. For intelligence, yes, that goes to Aang. But for battle IQ, that also goes to Aang. And that's kind of just, it's unfair. Because don't get me wrong, Korra got absolutely great battle instincts. It's like she think on her feet immediately. But Aang got way more battle IQ because he's in war times. He has an entire nation coming after him trying to kill him. Literally every one of his fights is life and death. Which is why in every one of Aang's fights, he can't remain unconscious for too long or else he might die. But for offensive, I'm going to give that to Korra because she's mainly offense. So that's fair. Defense and agility, if y'all are on my page, y'all know I always highlight that for Aang. For endurance, I have to also go with Aang. Like I stated before, he can be knocked out in the fight, wake up, and get right back into it, and keep on fighting. In regards to skill, I'm going to have to go with Aang because he stayed true to his teachings that he learned from each of his masters. Meanwhile, Korra kind of threw most of that away just to adapt to a pro-bending style of fighting. But Aang is more skillful with the fundamentals. Abilities, that also go with Aang because Aang got stuff like lightning redirection, also seismic sense, and so on and so on. I think that category says feats right there. If we're going for bending feats, I'm going to have to get that to Aang. And before anybody says anything, that whole kaiju bullcrap, we all know that was bullcrap. Didn't make sense whatsoever. But let's give this a Korra just so she can have a dog in this fight. No Mike Vick. Mobility, of course, Aang. Flexibility, that should also go to Aang. Like, people don't know how flexible Aang is fighting wise. I say range also goes with Aang, simply because he's able to make a tornado and kick it at somebody from a far distance, and also launch these giant rocks from a far distance with precision. Yeah, that goes to Aang. Combat speed and attack speed is kind of different, but I'll give this to Korra just to make it more fair. Combat effectiveness, that has to go to Aang. I'm sorry, it's just not fair. Because, like I said, Aang is in war times. She's not. All of Aang's fights are life and death. For experience, that also goes to Aang. Everything is life and death. Like, he can't afford to be knocked out or put his life in willing risk for no reason whatsoever, or to prove a point. Combat, that also goes to Aang. Obviously, because, his win count is way higher. And I mean solo wins. And since Aang is a more skilled fighter, of course he'll be a better combatant, especially in war times. It's different stakes, and he had different masters. Versatility and adaptability, of course, those both go to Aang. In all of his fights, he incorporates what he learned from each of his masters, and he typically always has flawless execution. Aang is always great at adapting and thinking on his feet, aka Twinkle Toes. In regards to the base of core elements, for firebending, cool, you can have that core. Airbending, Aang. Warbending, you can have it core. Earthbending, that goes to Aang, thanks to his seismic sense. Metal bending is very common, in Korra's time that is, but seismic sense, no. Seismic sense is not very common. That is elite skill from the masters. So for base core bending, I say it's tie, 2-2. Now the Avatar State portion is incredibly dumb. I want to explain to you why it is dumb. And that's because Aang technically beats her in all these categories because he's still connected to his past lives. Oh, Korra has Prime Rava. Like, do people seriously not know what made the Avatar State and the Avatar lineage so deadly and terrifying?
The glow is the combination of all your past lives, focusing their energy through your body.
So no matter what, in the Avatar State, Aang will always be more powerful than Korra no matter what. But to continue on with the Avatar State, and while all of this is dumb because Aang is clearly stronger no matter how you put it, and it's honestly no competition whatsoever, and this is definitely laughable, especially experience, because remember,
Designed to empower you with the skills and knowledge of all the past avatars.
And literally all these right here should also be Aang. Like, people don't understand, her losing that lineage, that made her instantly weaker than Aang forever. And just so delusional core fans can hear it one more time, what's the Avatar say again, Roku?
The glow is the combination of all your past lives, focusing their energy through your body.
Having Prime Rava and Korra is like having Prime Mike and Sky Pippen. Meanwhile, for Aang, it's like having 40-year-old LeBron and having Steph Curry in his prime, Kobe in his prime, Wilt in his prime, Larry Bird, Magic, KD, and every other player imaginable in their prime behind you. Who are you picking?
Hello, Zuko here.
And if you like that video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And also let me know what you think the next video should be based off of. Because like I say at the end of all my videos, I read every comment and I make sure that y'all are heard. Because I'm trying to get to 50K by the end of the year, I would love to have your support and hear more about your ideas. I hope you're able to apply these words in your everyday life. And Lily, thanks for watching. Oh, and a reminder, drink water.
Perfection and power are overrated. I think you are very wise to choose happiness and love.